Now that this is a GPT-5 is out, is Google, now, in a little while, are they going to release Gemini 3? Like, imagine our grandparents, right? If we send something to them, like, and they might think that it's like real. Like, you send them a first person point of view and it's something crazy that's happening and they think it's you and they could be worried.
What's up? What's up? What's up? Welcome back to another episode of Autonomous Income. I'm your co-host, Deuce Noble.
And I'm your co host, DJ. A lot going on today, Deuce, man. A lot going on.
Hey man, it's a good day today, as always, in the world of tech and AI and the things that are going on. So, of course, some big news dropped. Both two big companies that we've always loved to talk about. OpenAI has dropped GPT-5. Heavily waited on, and we are excited to talk about that. Also, Google has dropped Genie 3. Google DeepMind. So we're excited to talk about both of those. But DJ, let me know what's on your list of what you want to talk about first, because both of these are big, heavy hitters, and I'm excited to see what we talk about with both of them.
Yeah, man, they are. They're both they were both huge. I knew as soon as, there was rumors, right, that we talked about before also that GPT-5 was going to come out. And when I saw that Genie 3 came out from Google on Google side of the fence, I was just like, okay, they're going to wait maybe a week or so and then they're going to release GPT-5. Everybody's kind of just vying for eyeballs and, and the attention and just kind of the momentum and everything. But yeah, let's jump into it. GPT-5. Like, I mean, that's a major waves. You'd have to be under a rock just to probably not hear the announcements and just all the coverage and all those things. First off, Deuce, kind of like, what is your, now that it's out, you've seen it, what is your take on it?
Man, it's like I said, every time we think someone has the latest and greatest, OpenAI has something in their bag of tricks. They always have something up their sleeve. And I know we were just talking about what was that, XAI and what Grok was doing and how Grok was taking off now. GPT-5 through the roof of the speed, how well it is. I really love how you can use it with. It's great with coding, right? GPT-5 is really going to, I think, change the game again on how everything is looked at. So this war yet again is a constant battle or foot race for who wants to be in first and who has the best and latest and greatest.
Yeah. I mean, and also like from you coming from a developer background and all the things, it looks like, and even as it's shown right here from OpenAI themselves, for me, like they focused a lot of the use cases, at least that they showed off. Of course, there's a lot more use cases that'll come out, some that we'll showcase from our perspective as well. Definitely our entrepreneurs will be able to just leverage this in just incredible ways, right? That we can kind of go over. But yeah, so I was just super excited to see that they really broke it down into kind of three pillars of what they kind of showcased. And a lot of that was for developers, right? Like from a developer standpoint. And Deuce, that's why I can't wait to kind of hear your perspective from a developer standpoint on how you plan on integrating, ChatGPT-5 and kind of using that. And then for business, like it was awesome. Like they actually took through, like, it seemed like from a product manager, product owner standpoint, is one of the videos that they were kind of showing off as well, just like grabbing customer feedback and basically analyzing that feedback and then turning that into product requirements and going through the whole flow, and even also giving like a wireframe for some of the solutions and all those things to just walk through all of that. It was awesome. So speed, for me, they didn't really go all in on like all of the benchmarks that normally they go through, but I know it did, of course, break some of the benchmarks. And then as you go to the LLM arena, it's top of the chart now. So GPT-5 is at least from the language models, the conversation and all that, it's top of the charts now. So it's just, and it just seems to be very solid. I'm super excited to kind of use it more. I've been playing with it all day today. I know some people had early access to it. Matthew Berman said he's been testing it for a week. I'll drop the link down to his video because he's tested the model and put that out today. And, a lot of people are just like, they're not surprised. Like you mentioned, Deuce, like when other people kind of release, something, OpenAI, they usually just, they
They're
have something on.
always they're right behind, right? Something up their sleeve. They got it
Yep.
in the bag. And I think, like you were saying, like even with some of the things and the capabilities that GPT-5 brings, even from my standpoint, using it with coding, I think, it's going to be for me an interesting like vibe coding assistant. I personally still like to code and do things on my own, but I think using this in addition to coding on my own would just make a great vibe coding experience, right,
Yeah.
for myself. But looking at some of the applications that have come out of using GPT-5 seems pretty sweet. And if you're looking to learn how to code or code a small application, using GPT-5 might be really beneficial for you.
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, like coding, just some of the use cases that I've seen today. I mean, you have apparently like GPT-5 is really good at front end development, like, design and all those things. So you can give it a concept. So you can say clone X or, clone Twitter or clone, whichever one that you regard it as, but clone, these other experiences that are out there and it'll do that. Or build me a login page or whatever the case is. And like, it really like takes time on designing it. A lot of people, how they basically code up like the snake game and all that.
Right, right,
But the
right.
design of the snake game that it does now, it actually has like pulsing, like different kind of design elements, different color palettes,
Which
and
is
all
pretty
those things.
dope,
Like,
right?
yeah,
When,
yeah,
especially when you're coming to creating things like games, like making an application and coding that, the logic behind it is cool, but the design part is where it gets hard, right? And I think that's where GPT-5 can really shine in helping people do code actual games or many applications for that, like just the front end piece of it, right? So
yeah. Yeah, so there's different videos. I would definitely suggest like to go on their site. You can go through it, and actually it's available like to all tiers, which was also cool. Like I really enjoy the fact that they released it to everybody, like the free usage, and apparently like you get so much usage out of it. They didn't really go into the details of how much specifically, but if you overuse it, then you'll go to, I think it's GPT-5 mini. You'll go to a different one of their models, but also just to say again, you have GPT-5, you have GPT-5 mini, and then you have GPT-5 Nano. And we know Nano models like Gemini Flash, and I think Gemini, they might even have a Nano model for that as well. Those are the ones that are going to edge devices, right? Like your phones and all those other things. So
yeah.
you can get that super quick responsive rate. But, I could just, the context window, I think, went up. I want to say that GPT-4o had 128,000 context linked, and now it's 400K. I could be wrong. Don't quote me on that. If not, we'll correct that in the edit. Either way, like just that really opens it up. Now we know the king of context window is definitely Google with their Gemini models. I believe they're 2 million context window up to like, and maybe some of their models can get up to 10 is what I was hearing. 10 million. I mean, like, that's just huge context window. But either way, with Chat GPT-5, like, I love the fact that they consolidated. That's the biggest thing. Also, they consolidated the model, so now you can just go to Chat GPT and it's one model. You don't have that confusing like having to pick O3, O3 mini,
Yeah.
O3 mini
Yep.
high, and or O4, 4.1, and like all the things. Maybe that'll kind of help out with the naming convention because now it's just Chat GPT-5, and of course, they have the different
Look,
variations of
DJ,
5.
maybe they heard you about their naming conventions, right?
Yeah, I mean, that was a big deal, man. The naming conventions were just all over the place as and it wasn't just me. A lot of people were saying that, but I would definitely, check those out. We'll do some deeper dives and go into more details with our own personal experience and how we're leveraging ChatGPT 5. And I believe it's also available already on the API for individuals to kind of use and put into some of their workflows and potentially definitely your automations that you may have for your business and your company. But yeah, Deuce,
One of the
what do you think?
more interesting things, though, I thought was pretty interesting. ChatGPT-5 has been fine-tuned to shine against some of those agentic coding products like Cursor, Windsurf, GitHub Copilot. I used GitHub Copilot, pretty heavily when it first came out. So it's pretty cool to see that, hey, we've already put it up against some of these other agentic coding products and we know it's blowing it out the water. So pretty big claim, but it's pretty cool to see that they're really setting records on and impressing a lot of these testers, right? So a lot of coding tasks may be simplified, or, I'll be interested to see, like, from here going forward, what that looks like for people who are developers and what that looks like for companies when they come to develop something new, right? Because now you have really legitimate coding use cases being used for their models. So, yeah, I don't know.
I think, like I said, I mean, like it's just, I'm super stoked to kind of continue to use that. And also now I'm wondering, of course, like now that this is a GPT-5 is out, is Google, now, in a little while, are they going to release Gemini 3? What is that going to be about? Because they've had 2.5 for a little while now, 2.5 Pro respectively, but competition is definitely heating up. It seems like right now, I think OpenAI, is kind of at the front of the race again, if you will, when it comes to the model capability, just the way that it understands the context of what you're trying to convey. And I think that's really beneficial for a lot of people to just have a normal conversation with it, and it'll kind of understand where you're coming from and all of those things. But either way, you can test it for yourself. There's an extreme amount of use cases that they kind of showed off, like I said, with different front end designs if you're trying to build certain things. So, our entrepreneurs, if you need websites now, if you, if you want to go the route to kind of build them yourselves, if you're building, different experiences, as you can see here, like, the sky's the limit now with your creativity of what you're trying to get out there to market.
Absolutely. Well, man, like I said, this is great. Let us know if you guys have any other use cases you might have for GPT-5 or what you think about some of the updates that they've made to this model going forward. Let us know, man. Leave a comment, share it, let us know, right? All right, DJ, what else we got? What else did we say we got?
Yeah. So also, like I was saying, just going back. So Google, with their DeepMind, they released Genie 3. So for those who might remember, we had reported on that a while ago, like when they released Genie 2. And this is what they're calling a world model. So this is their latest iteration of their world model. This is pretty, it's actually pretty groundbreaking. I would think from my perspective, we're talking, physics environments and just like actual environments that the AI that their model is able to just generate. So you can give it a prompt or whatever they're doing to kind of initiate this at the moment, and you prompt it, and it's like generating these environments that you can actually drive or interact with in the environments, and they're staying consistent, which is the coolest thing, because normally when you have AI that generates environments for you, it's not as consistent. Like we've seen some of the earlier different companies that have came out with not necessarily procedural generation, that's a little bit different, but like that, where it generates these environments, and things change, all the
Right,
time. But in this one, it's very consistent as far as the color palette, the interaction.
right.
So as you can kind of see here,
What
the
they
up,
call
down,
it
left,
is
right. Yeah,
navigation promptable world events, right? Crazy. And the interaction you have with it can last multiple minutes.
yeah. I mean, multiple minutes. So that means like you can prompt it for, a flying simulation or something like that, and go through, and like it'll show some of the examples here. So for me, this is like gaming. A lot of people are saying like, that you may be able to prompt the game that you want to play. Like you can create something and it'll kind of generate that game, that you want to play from that environment
Yeah,
for, just a lot of different use cases, even robotics, right? So, which is, that's interesting. Like robots can generate, different scenarios, different scenes, environments, and everything like that. So they can kind of train in different things, and they can spin up as many as they would want to theoretically, right? Like, just a lot of use cases that you can kind of spin these environments up and really train a bunch of models that are intended for robots. But world memory, as I mentioned, like just a lot of things. It looks really cool. I mean, look at that painting on a wall, and it's keeping the context of the paint that was already on the wall, and it's really touching the wall or streaks. Like this is all prompted. Like this is next level, Deuce. What do you think? What's your thoughts on
so you're telling me we are mid Q3 and we have Genie 3 that's dropped. Veo dropped a few months ago.
that?
You're telling me that we're not going to have a full end-to-end Hollywood blockbuster movie made all by AI by end of this year?
I don't know about the end of this year, man. I don't know about the end of this year, but I mean, like
All I know
now,
is you can
yeah,
put enough of these clips together, and if you can, the only thing you have to be able to do is just keep the context. Listen, they're very close, if not soon. It may not be out, but it might be in the works and release early next year.
yeah,
That's
man.
all I
No, I
know.
mean, Google is really cooking when it comes to these video models, like Genie 3 being a world model in the environment and all those other stuff. And then, of course, with Veo 3. And, I just can't wait to see what they kind of do with those. They're just, this is just very immersive that you can kind of use.
The thing that I'm really impressed with is how well the game video mode looks, right? If
Yeah,
you're prompting for you to walk through a game simulation, it looks pretty sweet and pretty spot on, right? How it generates the
yeah.
gameplay, movement, and activity and follows, it kind of keeps the same interaction going, right? I think that's pretty sweet. I don't know.
Yeah, man. I mean, like, so with Genie 3 at 720p resolution.
24
uh,
frames per second, right?
Yeah, man. I mean, and the thing is, like, it's real time, right? So this is
Real
like
time.
real time generation of these environments, and the fact that you can actually navigate in them. I mean, like, it's looking like GTA 7. You know what I mean?
All I
Like,
know is,
when we get
look,
on
we
GTA
might be
6,
able
but I
to
mean,
between GPT and Genie 3, we might be able to create our own GTA before they drop.
Man, yeah, it'll be worth it when they drop. But yeah, like it's just like I just think that I think it'll look a lot different.
Yeah.
Just it's just how long it's going to take things to get to market, which I think is cool because I mean, like people's creativity now, like it takes away like a lot of like what they can do. Like now, if you can really think of some a cool concept that you want to pitch, I mean, this might be something that you can prompt, and then you can kind of have that idea, and then that way you can, it can kind of help you pitch that. Just going back to like what we were saying with GPT-5, also is very hard to say that all the time. But GPT-5 is
Right.
that like you can build these wireframes for an idea that you may have and all of these things. It's just it's I think it's really a really cool time to kind of especially for those creatives or people kind of like in the industry like we are dudes. Like if you're trying to pitch a product idea, digital product idea. If you're trying to make an enhancement to an app or digital experience, I mean, now it seems like you'll be able to really synthesize, analyze all the information you need to, and theoretically, you'll be able to pump features out a lot faster than you used to before because requirements and all this other stuff. I mean, you can gather that. You can do deep research now on things, and especially if you have this tied into like a work environment, like it's just really cool.
One thing, I always got to play devil's advocate. So the thing about this, though, I love this, right? Now you have these real world scenarios, and it's very good at modeling physical properties of the real world, right? Now we got these videos generated, and how can we tell what's real and what's not? How are we going to be able to decipher if, hey, could be a first person, a point of view of some catastrophic event happening, but it
Yeah.
was all generated through Genie 3, right? And it's very navigatable. You can look around, you can see landmarks that look very similar. And because it's so good at doing that, who's going to be able to tell, like, yeah, no, that's not real? Well, like, I mean, well, not
Yeah, I
who's going to be
mean,
able to tell. What's going to be the deciphering factor between that,
yeah.
right?
Well, I mean, that's also the concern I would think with just any of the models, the video models that are right now, because not only just Genie 3, but the VOs and the Klings and all that, because right, they can prompt something that's kind of wild, and but also I think the safeguards, there are stuff we've all typed into models and something like I've typed in something to a model that and it's just like, oh, I can't answer that. It might be a political question or whatever the case is, and and they stray away from it. And some of them, they will answer questions as we talked about last week. Anything you saying will be, don't type anything crazy too.
Right.
We talked about that in depth. It's just like, they can, models won't protect you. It's not like a secret conversation that you're having or whatever. That could be out there. But just saying, like, if you're prompting these things, there's different guardrails that they're setting up within the models to stop people from just going too, crazy with prompts. But you're right. I mean, like that is definitely a concern. They have digital watermarking that they have included on some of the experiences. Like I know VO, it'll put VO on the bottom right, which may
Right.
be cropped over and all those things. But digital watermarking, and hopefully we'll get better and better at being able to set some sort of industry standard on how these models are shown that it's just not like a real event that's occurring, that it's something that was generated.
No, I agree. But all in all, completely dope technology, completely dope applications, use cases. Very, very cool, right? And I think that, as always, from here, it's only going to get better, and it has continued to get better. And we've seen that, right?
Yeah, we've definitely seen that. And from Genie 2 to Genie 3, just the quality, the consistency, and all of those things, less blur, like it really looks crisp. Maybe I won't bet against you about this full length movie. Maybe it'll be like a full length short film, like one of them Sundance, something like a short film or something like that. Maybe it'll be something like that by the end of the year. But I mean, dudes, honestly, man, we have, it might be a year, even in a year, right? I mean, like, we're getting really close to having something where it could potentially be like a full production video, like a
We're getting very close and a lot closer than you probably thought we would be by now, right?
yeah,
Because if you think about the technology, like just this one of these prompts is the prompt that says the environment is natural, real world landscape, specifically a dense, what is this? A dense arrangement of lush, vibrant foliage, right? So on and
yeah.
so forth. But if you can get as descriptive as you want with these prompts, who's to tell you that we can't make these prompts a lot longer, right? like we said, we're seeing in let's say Genie 2, those prompts and those interactions lasted 10 to 20 seconds. Now with Genie 3, multiple minutes. You can look at Veo. Those interactions were 8 seconds, right? Game
Yeah.
and Gen before all of that, a few seconds. So we're getting a lot better with what the product looks like, but also how
Yeah.
long we can interact with that product. Right? So the technology is really taking time.
Yeah, man.
There's no real interaction latency. Everything looks real time. It's getting not scary, but it's getting pretty cool in a sense, but also, like, all right now. You remember those movies back in the day where it was like you could tell it was CGI? Like you did, all right, bro,
Yeah.
that's CGI. You know what I'm saying? Well, who was to say that some of these movie producers might fill in a spot? Like it don't got to be a full movie. They might just fill in a scene with some AI generated movie or AI generated, interaction.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying?
Yeah, no, I
Huh?
mean, I'm not, I believe I'm, hopeful for a utopian kind of a, future and all those things, definitely versus a dystopian future. But I do think that, yeah, we have to be realistic about like what you even mentioned before, Deuce. That's a solid point. Like, it could be trippy. Like, imagine our grandparents, right? If we send something to them, like, and they might think that it's like real. Like, you send them a first person point of view and it's something crazy that's happening and they think it's you and they could be worried, or like if something's going around on social media, it could be pretty jarring sometimes for individuals, and like for us it could be cool because we may know like, oh, okay, that's AI, and like, but not everybody will know, that's out there. So it is interesting, and it will be interesting to see kind of how that gets solution in the future of let's like, but I think watermarking or whatever kind of solutions that's going to be out there that people are cooking up right now,
Right.
definitely that's I'm sure that's at the top of their list of just making sure that they have those things ironed out before, because ChatGPT, all of these companies, they have to go through a lot before they can kind of release this out to the market. They did a lot before a couple of years ago. They might have less regulation now on what they have to do to get some of these features out and capabilities out there, but it's just interesting. Definitely interesting, man.
Definitely
Yeah.
interesting. Okay. I don't know if you were able to scroll enough, but there's this one prompt. And I just want to talk about how crazy this is. So the prompt is this: walking around on a beautiful day outside in Hinsdale, Illinois, real world. There are cars parked. The person filming is standing on the sidewalk. There are flocks of birds flying overhead. So in this prompt, there's cars. They look absolutely real. He opens up a car door and everything. Crazy POV. Keep sliding over real quick on that one, I think. So this video, crazy prompt, right? So walking around on a beautiful day in Hinsdale, Illinois, real world. There are cars parked. The person filming is standing on a sidewalk. There are flocks of birds flying overhead. Insane how incredible this detail is. Like from the sense of
Yeah.
opening the car door, right, to just walking around and seeing. Granted, you can't really tell the model of the car, but how real does this look?
Shadow is crazy. Yeah.
Right,
And
the
there was a
shadows,
flock of birds in the onset of the
everything is
video
very,
also.
very accurate. Cool. And honestly, even if you could sit, like, I could tell, okay, this is not all the way real, but imagine this being just a almost live action type of movie, right? Or just something. Very, very
Yeah, man.
crazy
Yeah,
how
this is the
great the detail
GTA
is.
GTA 7, man. I'm
Man, that's
telling
what I'm
you.
saying.
GTA 7, yeah. I mean, like, I'm telling you, by the time like this is like, and imagine this quality of going into the houses or doing,
Like,
whatever you're
granted,
doing, man.
there's
I
some
just feel like,
inconspicuous inconsistencies of how the car door opened and all that, but still, great detail. I think this is amazing, right? Like, you can't, like, this is generated off a prompt. Come on, man. What is it? Get out of here.
get out of here. Yeah, I mean, like, if you look at these and you just go through, that's why I think like this was a good, a good solid announcement also for Google. There was a lot out there. Definitely leave down in the comments below what you are planning on doing, like with features and capabilities, especially once they get on the hands with the Genie 3. And definitely how you plan on leveraging GPT-5. We'll be doing more coverage. It was very high level today, just to kind of go over the release. There's a lot of announcements and a lot of coverage that's out there, but
Absolutely.
definitely for our entrepreneurs, we want to definitely look at that. For our individuals that have automations that are set up for different workflows that they may have, our real estate investors for sure. Like, I just think the competency. One thing I'd be remiss not to say is this is also by far, from their words, their most like basically with hallucinations. So this is their most factual model that they've had. So they've built it basically in is that it does fact check itself and all that before the responses on that, which is amazing because a lot of people are fearful from oh I can't even talk fearful for hallucinations and all those other stuff, even though
Right.
real humans hallucinate all the time, like but not all the time, but what I'm saying is just like it definitely fact checks and all those other things. So it's just interesting to see like they really lean into that a lot because I think with O3, even though it was like one of their thinking models and all those other stuff, it did have a higher chance to hallucinate from some of the previous models, and it looks like they leaned into that a lot for GPT-5. So, but yeah, I think that's it.
And as always, like, comment, subscribe, and share. And, like DJ said, let us know how you would put some of these or what use cases you would use to put these tools to work. And other than that, we'll catch you on the next one.
Peace.